Hi folks, Mark Little here. I'm the percussion instructor at Decatur High School. This concert season, the spring of 2014, we've decided to play a unique piece that was written in 2011 by John Mackey, and the piece is known as Foundry. He notes that it is for concert band with found percussion, so there's a little play on words there. This calls for a lot of interesting metal sounds in the percussion section, which he describes here on an instrumentation page. Kind of come in a little closer here so you can see most of the percussion parts. The one in particular that I wanted to show you guys today is something called Four resonant rattling piles of metal or other rattling metal objects, such as train rails with other metal leaned on top. Must have some resonance, but no definable pitches. So how to create a playable, portable, sonically appropriate instrument that consisted of or represented sonically four metal piles was a challenge for us. We looked on YouTube and we saw one example in the spring of 2014, which was a pretty good one with not a lot of explanation, but I based my design for this instrument on that loosely, and I'm going to show you what we built. This is what I did. I literally used mostly found percussion. Started with a couple of rails that are like gardening type of stakes that cost about $4 or $5 at Home Depot or hardware stores. I loosely screwed them down to boards. That's this green piece. And that's what my other metal is sitting on top of. Then I used found pieces of metal that I found at a railroad yard, and I spray painted it to try to have less rust on the outside. A couple of metal brackets I found at the hardware store. They were like $1.50 each. Various nuts and bolts and washers. This was a piece of metal steel that I found, and of course what we have here are a couple of what's known as rebar that's also readily available building sites, and you can also buy pieces about this size at Home Depot. And there's several different thicknesses, 3/8, and I'm not sure what, 1/4 inch maybe, or maybe 3/16, 5/16, something like that. I played around with the different thicknesses and diameters of the rebar, and this is the thinner pieces that were 2 feet long. But I basically just piled up these different metal things. This is a landscaping stake that's got a return on the other side of it. You can kind of see here it comes around and curves back around, and the tongue sort of stops there. But I screwed these things down and put different washers in to create more rattliness. Took some pieces of metal and just held them in place with screws. Just stacked some up on top loosely, which you have to be careful during transportation. And this is where we ended up. I want to show you what it sounds like. I also, in keeping with the theme of the piece, the idea of it, I decided that our beaters would be a couple of wrenches, and I tried to choose wrenches that were inexpensive, $2 or $3 each, and that were evenly matched to one another, whether you're using your right or left hand for the instrumentalist. And I tried to choose some that felt closest to being about the size and feel of a drumstick, which our players would be used to, without the heaviness of a hammer. And if I got to the exact length of a drumstick, I would have ended up with the wrenches being a little too heavy, probably for the player's hands, and I didn't want to do any damage to their physiology, so I went with a 21mm wrench, and that felt about right. Here's what it sounds like. Let me back this up. There we go, that's a better strike. So what we're trying to get is a unique metal sound with rattliness on top of it to represent metal piles, but not too much resonance and certainly no specific pitches. So what I found worked the best was to pick 4 main metal pieces that each had a different sonic quality if you hit them by themselves, and then just experiment with what I piled up on them to get the rattly sounds. And of course we're achieving rattle as they rattle against the rails that they're sitting above and that sort of thing. So let me try it again. There you go. It's piercing and bothersome and sounds like a foundry, we hope. I hope if John Mackey sees this, our composer, that he might confirm that we've come close to what he was going for. We feel pretty good about it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, just let me know, and I will do my best to answer them in the comments. Thanks. Again, this is Mark Little, Decatur High School, spring of 2014.